On demand.
Now, the BBC is set to issue an apology after doctoring a Donald Trump speech that featured in a Panorama documentary. Have a listen to this.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight. We fight like hell. We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women.
Slightly different, I think you'd agree. It's unbelievable. And this all follows accusations of bias in the coverage of stories like the US election and the Gaza humanitarian crisis.
Is an apology going to be enough? Let's talk to Deputy Political Editor at The Spectator, James Heal. James, good morning to you. I mean, look, it might be a first step. It's very difficult to see how heads won't roll after this.
Yeah, but whose head?
Well, precisely, and often in these stories tends to be deputy heads must roll, as opposed to maybe sometimes the big dogs taking responsibility. We expect on Monday that Samir Shah, who's the chairman of the BBC, will be writing to the House of Commons Select Committee on this to apologise. But I think it all depends on how much fuss the Americans want to make about it. You remember, of course, back in, I think it was 2019, when the British ambassador to the United States had to resign, Kim Darroch, something like this could happen. We've already seen the press secretary last night, Caroline Levitt, talking about actually that she was disgusted by the BBC, calling it fake news. And so it could depend on how much pressure the Americans put on the British government to sort of exact a revenge from the BBC for this.
I mean, the alarming thing, and I think a lot of people got very fed up when Donald Trump kept going on about fake news, is that it's the BBC of all broadcasters, of all news outlets, that actually has sort of proved them right.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that there'll be many BBC journalists who will be there trying to work very hard in America at the time when they are less and less trusted, both here and abroad. And they'll be tearing their hair out at this, thinking, why on earth was this necessary? Why on earth couldn't they follow basic journalistic practice? Because it completely pulls the rug out from underneath them and all their colleagues.
But the other issue here is one thing to apologise, one thing to maybe sack someone who allowed this edit to take place. But it outlines a bigger underlying culture, doesn't it, which somehow has got to be addressed. Yeah, I've spoken to journalists who used to work at the BBC who say, for instance, they were there because, they were the only Tory in the room and it was all quite sort of self-confirmatory bias. I do think there is an element of that in which the national broadcast needs to be careful. It's representing all different viewpoints. It just also needs to be careful of what's going on in different bits of the BBC empire. We've already seen some controversies involving BBC Arabic and some of the people that have been hired there. There was one journalist who wrote that Hitler was right and there was a whole outcry about that and she eventually left. But it's just to make sure that all different things, at a time when there's more and more scrutiny on the BBC and people rightly are saying they want accountability for the organisation they pay for, that they're not letting the side down by doing different things in different parts around the world.
Yesterday the BBC just released a statement saying, they take these things very seriously. It meant absolutely nothing. And it very much gave the impression that they felt that there was nothing to apologise for. But by the look of it, they've been, after 24 hours of, real accusations, they clearly are taking it a bit more seriously. But for heaven's sake, they should have leapt into that sort of mode yesterday, shouldn't they?
Absolutely. I think that it was obvious, given the perhaps the egos and sensitivities of some in the Trump White House, given also how serious this was, possibly the world's most serious, powerful figure, things should have been leapt on very quickly because this is going to be a big story and it was pretty obvious to some people straight away. Yeah.
Can we talk about migration? Because this is a very interesting move. When we're revealing that we've had 1,800 small boat migrants over since Thursday, which is frightening in and of itself. The government now is looking at this Danish system. Now, that's quite something, because, that is considered pretty hardline.
It is considered pretty hardline, and what Denmark have been able to do is get down asylum applications to a 40-year low. They've done this by embracing some measures that would have considered once unpalatable, but they ensured that the Social Democrats there, which is Labour's sister party there, have been able to appear tough on migration and win re-election as a centre-left force. One of the things they've done, for instance, is confiscating valuables worth over £1,000 deterrence. That has been likened by some critics to some elements of what went on during World War II and sort of the persecution of the Jewish people there. But also it's been something that they say, look, it gets the results that we need to do. It needs to stop people from coming here abusing the system.
It's a deterrent.
A deterrent. And could it work here? So Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood herself, the first Muslim female Home Secretary, has sent over officials to Denmark to learn from that. And I think we're going to see a lot more on that kind of front in 2 weeks' time when she announces the changes.
The interesting thing would be, if it is announced and something similar on those levels, the biggest problem she's going to have is her own party.
Absolutely. We're already seeing the papers are full of briefings today by Labour MPs. Nadia Whittome has been saying this. Clive Betts on the backbench has been saying the same thing. They are saying this is beyond the pale. But frankly, if Labour wants to win re-election, they know they've got to stop the boats. It's one of the few things the Prime Minister identified as a priority. If they don't do that, people are abusing the system. People don't want to pay more tax to pay for more social services.
They must have faced the same sort of opposition to what is fundamentally not very socialist from a socialist government in Denmark, mustn't they? And they obviously have got it through. And now that it's been proven to be quite effective, everybody seems to be quite happy with it.
Yes, and there is that point about sort of welfare states, isn't it? It's based on the contributory element and the principle, which is that you pay in and you get out. And of course, people have just arrived there. How much are they going to contribute? The other thing, of course, to note with Denmark is also the point about they want to avoid kind of ghettoisation. So they were saying that if there's areas with more than kind of 50% what they would call non-Western peoples, they therefore put deterrents to stop more people going there. So it sort of works to try to build the idea of a multicultural society which is based on Danish values rather than ensuring that you get self-selecting areas. So all these things have to be addressed. I mean, there are a few key differences between us and Denmark, of course. They don't have the small boats that we have. We've obviously got the English language, which is much more of a draw. But there certainly seems to be a case where actually centre-left governments can do things that are able to get migration down as a serious issue and stop populist parties, as they would see it, winning power.
I wonder if they can actually make it happen, or whether there will be so much, so many Labour MPs on the backbenches who will be against it that they still won't be able to get anything working.
I think they'll get some measures through, probably, but the more hardline ones, such as confiscation, I might be a bit more uncertain about. And of course, if you're that desperate, you're coming in a small boat, will that be enough to stop it? I suspect not, but it's probably worth a try for them.
OK. James, thank you very much indeed.
Let us know what you think.
Big Tech has turned your phone into a surveillance device, harvesting your data, tracking your location, and selling your information to corporations. Unplugged built the Upphone to fight back. It's the only smartphone with hardware-level privacy protection, completely blocking data harvesting at the source. It features a physical kill switch that cuts power instantly when you want to go dark, giving you control Big Tech took away. Unplugged puts privacy and sovereignty first. The Upphone is built to British standards, designed to keep your data in your hands with independent servers, its own app center, and no corporate gatekeepers. You can access what you choose. No censorship, no app bans, just freedom. Everyone else is playing by Big Tech's rules. Unplugged rewrote them. The Upphone runs on an operating system with 0 backdoors and a firewall that blocks thousands of tracking attempts every single day. The Upphone includes a host of unique security features. The device can be set to have its memory wiped regularly, and if someone demands your PIN code, well, you can give them a false PIN that will wipe the device. It's called Emergency Reset. Privacy isn't a feature with Unplugged, it is the foundation. To get yours today, click the link in the description now.
But the BBC is now apologising.
Yeah, so it looks like Samir Shah, well, he is. The chairman is going to be making a statement, I think, tomorrow to the Department of Culture, Media and Sport, or the cross-party committee, about this ongoing row of the doctoring or the splicing of the Donald Trump speech. Now, remember, this was January 2021 when he gave his speech, and they broadcast this panorama documentary 8 days before the 2024 US elections.
And I mean, it was as if it's not bad enough to have ever been done in the first place. It actually became the truth, didn't it? Everybody assumed that the way the BBC had cut it was what Trump said.
Yeah,
and then started to protest about what Trump had said.
And it was very specifically those sections. And we all understand that things need to be condensed. You can't run with a 1 hour or 2 hour long speech. Of course, there needs to be editorial decisions. But why were these decisions made? Why was the cutting made in that way? The splicing together. And when you read the bit that was left out, it's absolutely crucial. Yeah, he says, we will go and we will pay honour, and they didn't include that bit in. That is crucial.
What makes me really, really angry, we've given more ammunition to Trump for fake news, which makes us look stupid as broadcasters and all the other broadcasters, and to do it to Trump of all people, he needs no excuse to shut us all down.
I think you're right. I think this damages the special relationship more because it makes the BBC and the UK, by association, look as though we are very, very fake news, very anti-Trump.
Done it? And you know yourselves, you're all in the business. One word can change every sentence.
Especially these words.
That is so important.
It's the golden rule. You can, of course, you can edit stuff because we all have to do it. But what you never do is edit something to change its meaning. I mean, you just don't. So whoever did that...
And that totally changed its meaning.
Totally changed its meaning.
And it has justified everything that Donald Trump has ever said
about fake news
and journalists.
And also, it's unfortunately for the BBC, because I don't actually think it is a kind of left-wing conspiracy, but it's justifying everything that's been said over the past few years about their coverage of the Gaza conflict, their perceived anti-Israel bias, their coverage of trans issues that we've seen in the last few days with Martin Croxall being, pregnant people on her auto cue, and, then she corrected that to pregnant women. This bias that they are incredibly woke, this perception that they're incredibly woke, that they're incredibly left-leaning, that they're full of all this, and it increases pressure as well on Tim Davie.
And there's further stuff in the newspapers today about, because it's Panorama again, about how Martin Bashir got the Princess Diana interview.
Yeah.
And their heads haven't rolled there either, all these years later.
And our fees are going up, aren't they? For the licence fees going up. They do themselves no favours. Somebody should be sacked for this. Actually, I think somebody should be sacked.
And I'm afraid this dossier, this was covered up. Well, this was not released. This was known about. This issue specifically about the splicing, the doctoring of Trump's speech has been known about for about 6 months. Yeah. This report, an independent report, came out about 6 months ago. So it has actually been not addressed.
Yeah. Trump is going to have a field day with this.
Yeah. Pete, in the Mail on Sunday, David Lammy insists he's called Deputy Prime Minister. I don't necessarily...
He's had a great week.
I don't necessarily blame him for that.
I don't blame him. And Keir Starmer, who is he? Who cares? I mean, all of a sudden, he thinks he's Trump. Bringing Trump in again. He's never in the country. I think that David Lammy's been great television in Question Times. I think he's been fabulous in Parliament. And
in what way? Comedy or politics?
Comedy. Not politics. Certainly not politics. But he really goes for it. You can see him exploding inside. But apparently he has told the civil servants to actually call him Deputy Prime Minister. He says that this is mischievous and scurrilous. I never said that. I don't. But
he is the Deputy Prime Minister, so why not?
But he's also supposed to be the Justice Secretary. So who knows who he is and what he is. But, I mean, Keir Starmer does think he's Trump. He's all over, on the jollies, doing whatever he's doing. We need to sort our own country out.
Did you know? I mean, it came as a shock to me. I was reading about it just the other day, that he went to Harvard and got a law degree from Harvard.
Yes.
Yeah, he did. I'm sorry, I would expect people that work with David Lammy to call him David. Am I being an adult about this? I don't expect anybody to be called Deputy PM or Prime Minister. I don't think that's necessary. I think when you work with people, respectfully...
No, I disagree.
You call them David, you call them...
I disagree.
Don't you?
No, I mean, look at the White House. Everyone, including Chief of Staff and all the rest of it, it's Mr. President, Mr. President.
It's different in America, it's different.
I quite like that level of respect.
For the job.
For the job, respect for the job.
Well, then earn the respect, if you're doing a job.
The office has the respect.
Took the words out of my mouth. Earn it. But I understand if I had a title. I mean, if I was a lord, I would be called Lord Price.
My lord.
And I would not speak to you if you didn't.
Oh, yeah, I agree with Lady. I mean, Victoria Beckham couldn't change her name fast enough.
And
I don't blame her. Finally, she's Lady Beckham, and you can bet your bottom dollar that will be all over her designer clothes and the labels.
When we lost Ken Dodd, we all call Anne Dodd Lady Anne. Everyone calls her Lady Anne. She deserves it.
Oh, I'd be Lady Wolf in a heartbeat.
Of course you would.
Oh, yeah. Great fun. Baroness. I wouldn't be a dame. I don't like dame. I think it makes you sound like a pantomime sort of farce, but I'd like a baroness.
Pantomime dame. So I like being a dame.
No, I don't mind that. I've been a
Duchess.
dame.
Duchess.
Emma.